As with Jonnie's case, at this point here, she's seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. Her case is starting to resolve, or treatment's coming to a conclusion, but that's not the way it is with all cases. Sometimes, with a lot of cases I've handled, things change, and not necessarily for the better. Their injuries may continue to deteriorate. They may be required to see a specialist. There may be some issues that come up with the case that require some reinvestigation of the facts. The insurance company may have found some information and presented it to us to give us a telegraph of what's going to happen. Maybe they did some social media research and our clients just happen to say, you know what, I'm feeling like I need to go on vacation. In reality, they're in pain, but they've said on Facebook, now we're going to have to explain it. So we really have to retweak some of these cases at this stage. In theory, we'd love to feel that we're on a path of getting these cases resolved, but in reality and in practice, that's not always the case. Sometimes we have to sit and go back to the chalkboard and figure out another solution.
So glad that you're here with us. As you've been following Tulsa Law Talk, our guest has been Lloyd Benedict. He is with the law firm of Benedict Law Office. I shouldn't have said firm then, because it doesn't work with
law firm of the law office of the law firm. It all works.
Yeah, okay. Well, good. Now, I'm your host, Stevie Fernandez, and we've had Lloyd here as our guest for the last few weeks because he is an accident attorney here in Tulsa, Oklahoma for over 30 years. He's got the experience and has solved thousands of cases throughout his career. For the past few weeks, we've been learning a lot about what happens when, you're involved in a car accident, how to make the case, pull it all together, and the steps they need to do to get their lives back on track, as close as they can when that accident does occur. And all these ideas have led up to the development of a new type of TV program, and it's great that we have it, called Lawyer Lloyd Show. Because you look good on this show, I guess.
Oh, well, hey, thank you.
You can go on, you can binge watch it.
I'm going to start hanging out with you more often. That's 2 compliments in the last 5 minutes. That's great.
Well, the show features Lloyd and his staff, and it's based on the most common of car accidents, the rear-end collision. And since you've been an attorney, we don't really, since you've been an attorney, what am I talking about? As an attorney, you can't discuss any of the cases that are in the process, and the producer and Lloyd have created this character named Jonnie Parnell. And when you talk about it, it's not really, that's a fictional name, right? And the victim in this rear-end collision, you've been working with her throughout each week of the show, and we learn the steps that she takes to get her life back on track after experiencing this car accident.
Yeah, and Jonnie Parnell actually is her name. And in fact, we pretty much use everyone's names as real names. I think with the exception of maybe the defendant, Joe Dozier, and maybe the officer who was investigating the scene at the time. Everyone else really is the real names of the person themselves.
Okay. Well, Stevie Fernandez isn't my real name. Let's just get that on the record right away.
So that would be an alias that you go by, right? Is it the radio alias?
Let's get back to the TV show.
Okay. So how Lawyer Lloyd really kind of developed is, it's a story. It's a story of basically the average type of case that you would have. And of course, the victim in this is played by a local actress named Jonnie Parnell. And Jonnie, a wonderful person, has done a great job being able to bring that character, that personal side of being the victim themselves. In fact, the whole show is a little different, that we really want it from the victim's perspective. Not so much the lawyer's perspective, because it's interesting to find out what does a lawyer do and the process of going, the steps involved in building the case. And that's really the informative part of the show, which is the other half of it. But more importantly, or equally important, is Jonnie's story. What does she have? How's it affecting her life? How's it affecting her sister's life? How's it affecting her family life, her mother, her husband, her children? So we try to bring that into it and personalize it. How does this one collision that one might think is not a big deal, a fender bender, a little accident, and I don't like using the word accident, I like to use the word collision or crash, because accident makes it sound like it's just a little boo-boo. Oh, you had a little accident. That's really an insurance descriptive term. So we have Jonnie.
It also says there's no blame, I think, an accident.
Yeah, it kind of like there was no, like it's oops, exactly. With a crash or collision, there's some kind of causation there somewhere that caused that. So we tend to refer to it as crash or collision. So the series starts off with Jonnie being in a crash. Just like anybody else, and you having kind of a sports-minded background, you know that when a person's injured, it may take a couple of days, or it may be the next day before they actually feel the symptoms of it,
right.
And they may not actually feel the full effect of the injury at first. And that's what typically happens, and that's what insurance companies pounce upon. They want people to give them a call right then when they don't feel the full effect of the injuries. So when they say, were you hurt? And I do a recorded statement, that person says, I may a little stiff, but I'm not hurt. Of course, we don't know what hurt means.
Right.
And that's kind of how the way it starts off, and the problems they have, getting into a rental car, the dispute of liability, who is at fault, where do you go for a doctor, what body shop, the insurance company's trying to push you to a body shop. And we watch this progress through the series with my office intervening, getting hired to help her out, my staff of paralegals be able to team up and take each problem one by one to monitor her treatment, do the investigation, and ultimately to a point where we start, trying to stay on top of what's the next step, about to get released. And that's where we're going at, of course, with the next episode of how we're going to handle that, now that she's about to get released and how we're going to finalize it. But you'll see that in the upcoming episode.
So Jonnie's kind of a typical situational case.
There's no typical client or anything like that, but if you look at demographics, you can typically say the person who's going to be your client is going to probably be in a motor vehicle collision. Mm-hmm. It's probably going to be a rear end collision. It's probably going to be what they call a musculoskeletal injury or a sprain, strain, or the whiplash type injuries. They're going to probably treat with a chiropractor. And a lot of times it's going to be a female client, and it's not that we just have more female victims and male victims, but it just seems like those are the people that really want to get their rights protected.
Gotcha.
That's just my typical client. Of course, I can't discuss it as a real context as far as attorney-client privileges of any case. So Jonnie's the fictional character that we had to create to tell the story. But it is the facts of the actual cases that I have worked on.
And with that, you kind of touch on the fact that it's important to bring in all these other experts, and like you just mentioned, the doctors and whoever else. Who all would you involve in a case?
In the show, of course, we have, we're dealing with a qualified body shop, and we want a good body shop, and we're dealing with a good doctor, and those are really just kind of the core, what we call the experts at that point to be brought into it. A lot of cases go into maybe there might be an emergency room, there might be a specialist, a primary care physician involved, there might be a surgeon involved, there might be what they call life care planners, or there might be other experts. I've got a case right now that I really don't want to go into a whole lot of detail, but I had to hire a lab to test asbestos. And so it depends on the facts of the case, and who do you need to bring into it to be able to show what the damages are or what the liability. Sometimes I get an accident reconstructionist and maybe someone who do a computer animation for me based on the facts of the case.
We talked about before how even an injury or an accident can put some kind of a strain on the entire family. How does it work in Jonnie's case?
In Jonnie's situation, interestingly enough, and in true life, bless her heart, her mother actually has dementia. And so a person who's going to be injured and has never had any kind of problems taking care of her mom, getting her to the doctors and helping her clean the house and helping her do hygiene, helping her bathe and that sort of thing. And that's the way her life was before the collision. And then this is the way it is in real fact in Jonnie's situation. So it's easy for her to bring that to the Lawyer Lloyd show and talk about how an injury would affect that. Mm-hmm. Now she's having difficulty taking her to the doctor. She has difficulty helping her clean the house or taking the dog out and walking the dog, or hygiene issues, and has to rely upon her sister to take over. Then her sister can have her whole life disrupted, and the dominoes keep falling and falling and falling. So Jonnie has done a great job showing how a life is going to be affected just by maybe a typical accident. And again, it's not a substantial injury. It's one that's going to be manageable. It's one that she can treat for, but it really how it affects them. And that's really what I'm trying to portray in the story itself of, this is what happens, folks. This is why you get lawyers to bring this stuff to the light of the insurance company. Not because we talk about it. Talk is cheap. We want to show evidence, and that's one thing we don't do in Lawyer Lloyd, to show people how to do it. I'm not giving legal advice. I'm just showing what we do.
Well, that's kind of a cliffhanger there. Let's hold on to that so that when we come back, we can learn more about how Jonnie ends up with this case, and we talk more about the program, because that's a great idea. It's not like just some goofy commercial with a lawyer doing crashes or chasing ambulances or something like that. And so we're going to have a lot more fun learning about Lawyer Lloyd, and you've been enjoying Tulsa Law Talk with myself, Stevie, and Lloyd Benedict. We'll be right back.
How many people in the U.S. are injured each year at amusement parks? Do you think it's A, 30,000 people, B, 10,000 people, or do you think it's C, 1.1 million people? Stay tuned for the answer.
Over 6,337 people are injured in a car crash each day in the United States, and each crash can affect your day-to-day lives, from having nothing to drive to severe bodily injury. At Benedict Law Office, we are here to help you through this tragedy and get your life back on track. For over 25 years, Lloyd Benedict has been successfully handling and resolving personal injury cases. If you can't come to the office, we'll meet you, whether it's at your home, office, or by phone. Look us up on our website or call at 918-477-7000.
So how many people do you think get injured each year at amusement parks here in the United States? Well, if you guessed A, 30,000 people, then you are correct. Because each year, 30,000 people are injured here in the United States while at an amusement park. And I will gladly say I will not be added to that list due to my fear of heights. In fact, it'd actually be working in my favor, to be honest. Never thought of it that way before, but hey, I'm okay with that.
You never know, honey, I could be long gone before you get home.
Well, hi, Jonnie. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing okay. A little sore still.
All right. Well, bless your heart. Bless your heart. I wanted to get you in and talk to you a little bit more about where we are on the case, and we're trying to get some additional evidence in to support the case, because I really want the insurance company to understand what you've gone through. I mean, when it's all said and done, the medical records are just part of it. There's a lot more evidence in this, and I know that just by you talking to me and some of the things you've had, the hardships you had at work, hardships you've had at home, tell me a little bit about that.
Well, at home, you know, I think I've informed you, my mother has dementia, so that right there is a story in itself. She needs a lot of help. I have to bathe her, feed her. She has a dog. I have to take care of her dog. I mean, I literally have to put the dog on a leash and take it outside. So, you know, just moving around, it was just really hard.
What kind of dog is it?
Heinz 57. Looks like a little Dalmatian. It's a really pretty dog, but it's like a Dalmatian Terrier mix. But she's very hyperactive, and you know, when you're in pain, that dog doesn't care. She still wants to go outside and move around. So, you know, having to help my mother take a bath is difficult because I was in so much pain, and I had to enlist my sister to help me. I'm sure I told you about Debbie.
Oh, yeah.
Debbie was a client of yours, but I had to lean on her a lot to get me through it because, you know, there was just so much to do and I just couldn't do a lot of it. I was in so much pain, and poor Debbie almost lost her job because I had to lean on her to step in for me too, not just my mother but myself also. So she's doing 2 loads of work right there.
So before the accident, so you said hygiene, I help her take a bath and
She has to
with the
have
dog and stuff.
assistance. Yeah, she's got dementia. She's not capable of doing that by herself. You know, I have to worry about her falling too. I don't need her to have broken bones on top of my situation. So.
Was there any difficulty you had? Like, do you drive your mom places or
I
anything
have
like
to
that?
take her to the doctor. I have to take her for groceries. I mean, I have a lot of errands I have to do. And like I said, I had to lean on my sister Debbie to do it for me instead.
Because you couldn't physically do them, is that right?
Yeah, it was very difficult, very
Okay.
painful.
All right. So you've had to alter your lifestyle in that, and your sister had to help out on that. So we're going to focus on getting some evidence to be able to support those areas. Anything else in your life as far as, was there any problems at work?
Yes, they had to actually hire another man to assist me to do my job because I work for an estate sale company. I have to pick up heavy objects and move things around and set things up, and they literally had to get someone to help do my job, which, made me feel bad that I had to enlist more help.
Right, so you're like lifting furniture and heavy boxes and those
Furniture, boxes, just items to go up on tables. I actually lift the tables sometimes. I mean, a lot of that I couldn't do. I'm just incapable of doing it.
Did you tell Dr. Billy all these things?
I did. I informed him of my difficulties.
Okay. Did he put you on any restrictions telling you not to do these things?
He did.
Okay. All right. Any other personal activities, like any hobbies or?
Well, at church, I couldn't even sit at church. They sing and stand up a lot, and it was difficult for me to sit in that chair solid. I was in so much pain, and they want you to get up and down to participate, and I couldn't do that. I do some volunteer work where I help them build ramps for the elderly. I couldn't do that at all. I mean, I just felt left out. I had to stay home. I was just in so much pain, I know, and I feel really bad about missing out on that. So.
Okay, well, bless your heart. Where are you as far as treatment's concerned with Dr. Bewley?
He says I'm almost done, but if I still have pain, he may refer me to a specialist because he said this could be a lifetime situation. He's not sure, so hopefully I don't get pushed to the specialist, but I may be.
Okay, we're going to have Stephanie ask you a few questions, just some routine things. We're trying to finalize the case, and so she's going to go over a few items here.
Okay.
I see that Dr. Bewley has $3,800 in your medical bill so far. Has he sent you to get an MRI or any specialist?
No, not yet, but
okay.
Possibly.
We'll make sure that we need to go there. That's for sure. We need to do that. Just call me and let me know if he sends you to any of the other doctors.
I will.
Because I definitely need to note that down. Okay. And your lost wages are $950. Is that correct?
Yes, that sounds about right.
Awesome. All right. And do you know about the ADLs?
No.
About the active daily living?
Oh, yes. Yes, I do.
Perfect. I call it a pain diary. Basically, write down everything that you could do before your accident and what you can't do now after your accident. Like you were saying, you can't lift, you can't help your mom lift and do all that stuff.
List.
So it's a major document everything.
That's what Brittany told me to do.
Documentation is awesome.
Crucial.
So we need, okay, well that sounds good.
Okay. Once we get the items in and we'll be able to do our evaluation, start finalize things, it's going to be really important that you let me know when Dr. Bewley releases you. Give me a call Stephanie and myself.
I will.
And just give us heads up on that. The other items, your pain journal, if we can get you to finish up on that. And that could be either the one I supplied you, or if you want to send me an email, or if you just wanted to just do it on a separate piece of paper, whatever's easiest for you on that.
Okay.
I know you've been keeping it along the way, but to summarize things, that'd be helpful on that. Your husband, he may do a letter or two just talking about his observations of things before and after the accident, some activities you had. You mentioned your sister Debbie been taking over your responsibility with your mom. Maybe we can get some documentation from her. We really want to personalize things, be able to bring stuff in outside the clinic, outside the medical environment, how this affected your life. It's really important that we get that. That's part of my evaluation process. So you can get those items, you can go ahead and bring them to us, scan them, fax them, whatever you want to do.
I'll do that.
All right, and we're getting close to the end on this, so
Oh, thank goodness.
hopefully we can put this behind you.
Yes, I'm ready to do that for sure.
All right, well, if you have any other questions, feel free to call us back and we'll just take you through the process.
I will. Thank you so much.
All right, Johnny, thank you.
I appreciate it.
With the pain journals, I think one of the most important things that a client can do is to be able to keep a journal and to understand as to their activities of how it was before the collision versus after the collision, and to put those things into a summary, a daily summary, or as the events happen, so we can some point go back later on and take a look and see how the injury had disrupted their normal lifestyle. Before the accident, they may have been bowling or going out for walks in the park or dancing or attending church events and that sort of thing. And After the collision, you're going to have a certain disruption lifestyle. That journal is so important to be able to keep that in track. So later on, you can reference it and be able to tell somebody as to, hey, here's how the accident affected my life. 6 months ago from now, if you don't have a journal, I ask you, what happened? You might say, well, I know something happened. I know I had this and that, and I couldn't do this, but you really can't recall it that much. With a journal, it'll refresh your memory. You can all of a sudden recall that stuff. But more importantly, when you put that down, you're also able to go to the doctor and tell him things as you're treating, that things that you can't do that you could have done before the accident. That's how you know you're returning back to a normal state of where it was, if you can return back to a normal state.
So here's a question for thought. Which color of vehicle is most likely to be involved in an accident? Would you guess A, silver, B, white, or C, black? The answer when we return.
Over 6,337 people are injured in a car crash each day in the United States, and each crash can affect your day-to-day lives from having nothing to drive to severe bodily injury. At Benedict Law Office, we are here to help you through this tragedy and get your life back on track. For over 25 years, Lloyd Benedict has been successfully handling and resolving personal injury cases. If you can't come to the office, we'll meet you, whether it's at your home, office, or by phone. Look us up on our website or call at 918-477-7000.
So which color of vehicle did you guess to most likely be involved in a car accident? The answer is C, black. Black vehicles account for nearly 50% of all car accidents, especially at night.
Hey, good to have you back with us for Tulsa Law Talk with Lloyd Benedict from the Benedict Law Office. And we laughed a little bit earlier, sitting on the edge of our seats about Jonnie. She got her recovery, her car's fixed. What can we look forward to for her?
Well, it's, you got a car fixed, so as with all car accident cases, there are kind of a fork in the road. We focus on getting the car taken care of, whether that's being repaired or whether it's going to be a total loss. Figure out some kind of solution for that, get that out of the way, get the car compensated and the client mobile again. That way they can get back and forth to the doctor and life can kind of return back to normal somewhat. They still have their injuries, so then we focus our side of the case on the injuries. How long is it going to take for them to treat? We don't know. It's really up to the individual. Some people heal quick. Some people never heal. Sometimes there's permanent injuries. What kind of care are they getting? Have they got a good doctor, or is there a need for other physicians or diagnostics? So we take a look at that, and as we're shaping that case, we're trying to figure out what best evidence we can use to be able to present to the insurance companies for hopefully a good settlement at some point.
So at this point, I'm the client. Can I say this? Cha-ching! When does that occur? What am I looking at?
I think that a lot of people think about money as far as that's just the way it's going to be resolved, because that's all we can do. We can't actually give your health back to you, so to speak. It's the eye for the eye analogy on that. Well, we got to look for a value of the eye. People have different perceptions of what the value of their case is going to be, and then there's so many different factors that go into it. One could know that the more serious the injury, realistically, the higher the value of the case. A lot of people think you take your medical bills and you multiply it by some magic number. Well, that's just silly. If I go to a doctor and I scratch my hand and he puts a Band-Aid on it and charges me $5,000, and they say, oh, well, go multiply that by 3 times, that should be $15,000 right there. It don't work that way. It's based on the nature and extent of the injury. What was it realistically to treat the injury for? So one would say, okay, a Band-Aid, well, there's going to be an office visit, and so whatever that bill is going to be, and the insurance company is going to take a look at that. Well, as lawyers, what we do is we have to look and build the case and say, okay, yeah, all right, maybe it is a scratch, but what if they developed an infection? What if that led to an open wound? What if that open wound led to some type of infectious disease control at that point, like a staph infection or something like that? Now we have nerve damage. What about the scar from it? So it might be a $5,000 Band-Aid. And so the insurance company is trying to say, no, it's a $150 Band-Aid, and I'm trying to say it's a $5,000 Band-Aid based on the evidence that I put together and have shaped the case. So really early on in the case, we don't know what the value of it is going to be. The case kind of develops along the way as the client heals or doesn't heal, or they incur damages. They might miss work, they might not miss work. They might have future damages, they may not have future damages. Their life may have been disrupted, like in Jonnie's case. We're able to show, look, this is taking a toll on her personal life and our occupational and everything of that nature. Some people have that evidence, some don't. If you have a lawyer working those cases, we're taking a look at those and we're bringing that evidence into it, and we're building that and working that into the case and eventually present it to the insurance company. So the ka-ching part, it really depends on how successful I was in building that case to bring it to the resolution of settling the case.
What about the first cha-ching that a lot of potential clients are scared of when you walk in the door and you're going to be slapped with $100 an hour just to say hello?
How much is it going to cost to do all that, right? Well, that's a legitimate question. The way we work in the personal injury world, we work on a contingency fee. What does that mean? Simply means that you as the client really don't pay anything. It gets paid out of the settlement proceeds themselves. So, and there's a percentage, and it varies with different law firms and varies with different experience and that sort of thing. So you just have to contact the law firm, and I'm always honored to talk to people who have the question on that. But so they don't pay anything by the hour to me. They don't. And if I don't win, or if I can't settle, or if I go to court and lose, they don't pay me a dime. I may have to work for free.
Wow.
I wish my plumber did that.
Yeah, no kidding. Yes, these have all been great facts that you shared with us, and I'm really excited about everything that you've been able to offer. I'm excited about the TV show, so much so I'm going to get out of here so I can go catch some of those episodes online and look to see it on. Be sure to go to the website, benedictlawoffice.com, where you can see the past shows and see upcoming episodes as well. I don't know how you do that in the future, but
well, we don't. We just put down the dates when they're going to be released on that, but they can keep track on it. But I don't want to give you a spoiler alert or anything like that. But they can They can binge watch it from the benedictlawoffice.com if they want to.
You get to meet Lloyd. You get to meet his staff, his wife. Everybody's going to be on the show, so you got to go check it out. And thanks for listening to another episode of Tulsa Law Talk. And make sure you check out Lloyd and Lawyer Lloyd, the TV show.
I don't need